Every human being follows a blueprint. Blueprint is very, very important because everything God created follows a blueprint. You know, we follow light. The way light operates. The light moves in a straight line. So everything God created moves in a straight line. It follows a blueprint. A blueprint is what the architects, the engineers, they follow when they are designing, constructing things. Whether it is bridge, whether it is a house, we follow the blueprints. So the same way we as a human being, we follow blueprints because the blueprint traces you where you're going. It gives you your origin. It gives you where you're going. And despite the obstacle, we have to follow the blueprint. So everything God created follows the blueprint. Even the light, we can see the light goes a straight line. If something is dedicated, committed, then that is following a blueprint. So dedication, commitment, consistency, they form what we call moving a straight line. And that tells you that something moves everything. It's not like the truth. The truth is straight. It moves in a straight line. The truth is something that goes straight. It moves in a straight line and it moves like light. The truth is equivalent of light because it moves in a straight line and is equivalent of blueprint. The blueprint is consistent, dedicated, committed. So these things are what nature is teaching us. So if a man is not committed, is not consistent, and is not dedicated to what the person is doing, to your values, to your principles, then you are not consistent. Then you are not moving in a straight line. Then you don't have the truth. Because the truth knows its origin. The truth knows where it's going. So the same way God created us and the same way we have to follow a blueprint. Every human being has a blueprint for which he must follow. But unfortunately, many of us do not follow this blueprint because the blueprint is what helps you to get where you're going. It is the direction you're going. So regardless of the obstacle, you are facing north and you are going straight to where you're going. So that's why blueprint is very, very important. So in life, we have to identify what our blueprint is. What is our blueprint? Because the blueprint connects you to your origin. It connects you, it makes you to be in contact with your origin. Just like a pilot is in constant communication with the control room. So the same way we have to be in constant communication with God. Because God is like a control room. He controls us. That is our origin. That is where we're going. But unfortunately, we don't seem to understand these things. And that is why people like us were spending time to illuminate, to highlight these things so that we begin to understand the importance of consistency. So that we begin to understand the importance of dedication. So that we begin to understand the importance of commitment. Because without commitment, without dedication, without consistency, then we can't follow a blueprint. Then we are not moving in a straight line. Then we are not pursuing the truth. Then we are not the truth God created us to be. So the only way we can do these things is by being consistent in what we're doing. It's by showing that sense of commitment. It is by being dedicated to what we're doing. You see, look at a plant. A plant is committed to the soil. A plant is dedicated to the soil. A plant, once you remove it from the soil, it dies. The same way an aeroplane, Once you remove it from the control room, it disappears, and that's it. The same way, once the foundation of a house is not there, it goes off. So we can see these things in nature. We can see these things in our environment. We can see it's what we do, but we don't apply it. And that is why I am bringing this up, because I've seen the importance of commitment. I've seen the importance of dedication, and I've seen the importance of consistency. We have to be consistent in what we're doing. We have to be dedicated in what we're doing. We have to be, attached, grow where you're planted. Now, if you remove a plant from the soil, it dies. The same way happens to us. So if we are not following a blueprint, we're already dead. Because what are we going? What are we doing? Because your origin is that of God. You can't separate yourself from God. The same way a fish can't separate it from the water. Once a fish is taken out of water, it dies. Once a plant is taken out of the soil, it dies. Once a human being is taken out of God, the human being dies. Once a human being is taken out of God, we malfunction. That means we die. So that is why I'm saying that blueprint is very, very important. God created us and gave us a blueprint that we should follow it, regardless of the obstacle we find on our way. I was taking my son to school this week. So that was on Monday or so. So on the way, I look at the grasses. Immediately, there was an inspiration. Now, what lesson I drew from there was that regardless of the hostile environment, regardless of the dirt, the grass, the plant, they grow from there. Regardless of the environment, regardless of the depth of the soil, the grasses, the plants, they grow from there. So our environment, no matter how hostile, no matter how toxic, no matter strange it is, we have to grow from there. We have to dominate it. So your environment is not supposed to frustrate you. Your environment is not supposed to overpower you. Rather, you are supposed to dominate and overpower your environment like grass. They say grass is as perennial as grass, as a grasses. So we need to understand these things. So because our environment cannot stop us from what our blueprint is, because God has given us that blueprint. So there is no amount of discussion, government policy, government constitution, difficult environments that will stop us from exhibiting that our blueprint, that will stop us from operating. Rather, that environment empowers us. So what I learned from that in particular encounter is that no matter the environment you are born, whether it is classified as good or bad, that environment, you should overpower it. That environment should not depress you. That environment should not prevent you. So the dirt does not prevent the seed from growing. The dirt does not prevent the grasses from growing. It's very dirty, but yet it comes out from there. So our environment, no matter how toxic our environment is, no matter how difficult our environment is, we shouldn't allow it to dominate us. We shouldn't allow it to prevent us from following our blueprint, from being consistent, from being dedicated, from showing that of commitment, from being in commitments in what we're doing. So this is why these things are important, because if we're not consistent, if we're not dedicated, then we can't follow the blueprint, then we've lost the contact with God. Then we start malfunctioning. And that is why majority of people malfunction. Sorry, that is why many people malfunction, not majority. So because we malfunction because we lost contact with God. We are God, but we lost contact with God. Because we lost contact with God, then the potential God built inside us, we can't access it. We can't have it. And that is the saddest story. That is the most unfortunate thing that ever happened to a human being. Because a human being is finding it difficult to trace his origin. Our origin is that of God. God has built that potential inside of us, but we cannot use these potentials because we are not in touch. We are out of touch. And that is why we are spending time for people who do not see these things, for them to reflect and understand that God has made us God. He has created us His image. The reason why we cannot operate with Him is because we lack faith, because we are not committed to Him. We are not dedicated to Him. We don't show that commitment. The commitment is important, and we are not following the blueprint, because the blueprint is something that shows you where you come from and where you're going. It's like a plan an architect is using. It shows him where he starts, it shows him where he's going, it shows where he ends. So the blueprint is very, very important. Even all the thing, everything God created follows the blueprint. The birds follow the blueprint. The grasses, everything follows the blueprint. They might not be moving straight on the line, but because they are committed, because they are consistent, because they are dedicated, they are following a blueprint. Therefore, they are moving in a straight line. Therefore, they're exhibiting the truth. So the truth is what is important. The truth is that blueprint God left on us that traces us, to be in contact with Him, to be in touch with Him, to be dedicated to Him, to be, around Him, to be committed to Him. These things are important. Nature tells us this. So what we are seeing in the world today is where we don't understand distance. We don't seem to understand that we have a blueprint. We don't seem to understand that our origin is from God. And then we don't seem to understand that we're going to God towards the end. We are from God, we're going to the God, and that is who we are. So commitment is very, very important. Dedication is very, very important. Dedication and commitment tells us our life is moving in a straight line. Just like when you flash a torchlight, it moves straight in a straight line. It doesn't need any other thing to move. It moves in a straight form. So the same way we need to move in a straight line, because that straight line shows we're in contact with the truth, that we are pursuing the truth, that we know what the truth is. And that shows where we're coming from. So blueprint is very, very important. We are created by God to replicate God on earth. But unfortunately, when we come here, we are being distracted. We become confused. And then we lost contact with God. Then we can't trace our origin because we are not, we are not introspective enough. We are not paying attention. Everything God created moves in a straight line. The trees, even though they are growing, they are moving in a straight line because they are growing where they are planted. So moving in a straight line doesn't mean you have to walk straight in a straight line like light, but moving is when you are committed to your goals, when you are committed to your objective, when you are consistent, when you are dedicated to your goals, when you are consistent and committed, then you are moving in a straight line. And that means you're pursuing the truth. That means you know your blueprint. That means nothing can stop you. Nothing can stop us if we ever understand what God has left inside of us. Because He left Himself inside of us. And we already possess the same power God possesses. We have enough light to illuminate the earth. One single person has enough light to illuminate the universe. That is the kind of power we possess. Yet we lack understanding. Yet we don't believe in these things. We can believe something that cannot work, and then we cannot believe that something can work. So what I'm saying today is the blueprint. Your blueprint is very, very important. What is your blueprint? What is the main goal for which God created you? What is the main objective? What is your purpose? Because until you get your purpose, you cannot have this blueprint. You cannot understand what your blueprint is. You cannot understand why light goes in a straight line. You can't understand why the plant grows where it's planted. You can't understand why these fish in the ocean, the bird of the air, they are committed, dedicated, and they are consistent in whatever they are doing. They show that consistency. Do we show that consistency? No. Do we show commitment? No. Do we show dedication? No. Because we don't understand these things. You see, God created nature to help us to understand Him. He created nature, plants and the sea and grasses and everything because they move in a straight line. Everything God created moves in a straight line. That straight line is when you are consistent, when you are committed, when you are dedicated, when you are in touch with God, when you are in touch with your origin, when you follow that blueprint. These things are very, very important. And that is why we become frustrated towards the end, because we didn't pay attention to understand what a blueprint is. Now, for instance, my father had a mango in my compound in Nigeria. If I go now, pluck that mango from the original mango tree and come to the England now and plant it, that mango tree, that mango seed will replicate the same mango tree where it came from. So we are not different. We are supposed to replicate God. We are supposed to show the world who God is. We are supposed to be doing things when an angel is passing. The angel will recognize that it is only God that is doing this. It's only us that God has given them. It's only children of God that can be committed, dedicated, and be consistent in their pursuit. So nature tells us, like, look, no matter your environment, take advantage of it. Do not give excuses. We do give excuses, but that is wrong. If a seed does not give excuses when a heap of sand or soil is poured on it, yet it springs up, then why would we give excuses? My question. Why would we entertain excuses? Why would we say, this person blaming the whole world? Last time, somebody was I said, look, why not make use of the now? Why not make use of the opportunity God has given to you? Why not take advantage of your mistakes? Why not build on your mistake? Why not? Because we are here to replicate God. God made us as powerful as Himself. So we, just like a seed, a mango seed taken away from the mango tree, and you plant it, it produces the same mango tree. The same way we came from heaven, and God sent us here. We are supposed to produce God here, and everybody will be saying it. Why? Because why don't we achieve it? Because we don't have the inspiration. We don't have the understanding. But these things are here for us to understand that is where we are. That is who we are. That is our strength. That is our potential. That is what we become. A man will eventually become God because God made him in his own form. Just like a seed becomes a tree, it's the same way. So it is not a rocket science that we are supposed to be in contact with God. We are supposed to be nearer to God. We are supposed to be in touch, in contact with God, day in, day out, under the rain, under the sun, both in the day, during the day and in the night. That is who we are. We came from God. This dedication is important. This consistency is important. This commitment is important. So do not compare yourself with another person. The problem is that we compare ourselves to another person. A mango does not compare itself with apple or orange. You see, I cannot compare myself with you. You know, everybody, I created a standard. God left a standard and a blueprint for. He also left a standard and a blueprint. So I shouldn't compare yourself with me. The level of knowledge, my knowledge cannot be the same thing you possess. So each person has a blueprint which God left inside of him. But eventually that is the blueprint of God. So do not compare yourself with another person. Set a standard for yourself because you are different. They say salvation is individual. Salvation is personal. So do not compare yourself with another person. So if I'm doing video, you don't have to bother, you must do video. If I'm a doctor, you don't have to be a doctor. If I'm an engineer, don't. So you have to replicate yourself according to your own blueprint, according to the dedication, your understanding. But in the end, we all serve the same purpose of God. We serve the entire purpose of God. That similar purpose for humanity, of love. The reason God created us was not because that he wants to create, it's because he loved himself. That drives him to create us. Is the love God has for himself, so that when he sees us, he's seeing God. When God sees us, he sees himself. He's seeing God. And that is the purpose for which God created us. But we don't seem to understand this. Instead, we make wars, kill other people, maim other people, cause confusion, betray ourselves as if we are not children of God, as if we didn't come from heaven. We all came from heaven, from the mind of God. Just like a mango tree produces fruits and then gives seeds. So the same way God produces us from we came from him. And we go back to him. So this is why I am saying today your blueprint is important. And you cannot believe that in that your environment which you are afraid to operate, God has given you the grace, the power to overpower it. Just that the grass overpowers the soil. The same way we need to overpower our environment and replicate. You know, we are told to come and conquer here. We come in here and here conquers us. The earth conquers us. The world conquers us. We're not supposed to be like that. We're not supposed to be naive. We're not supposed to be ignorant. We are children of God, full of wisdom like God himself. We need to exhibit this wisdom. We need to exhibit this knowledge God has given to us. So our environment cannot overpower us. So our environment, no matter how hostile and toxic it is, it can't stop us. Just like, you know, if you faint during the time of challenge, during the time of trial, that means you don't have faith. Now, if you stop what you are doing because of what people are saying, then that means you don't have the passion. That means you are allowing your environment to control you. That means you're not following the blueprint. That means you're not like the light. That means you're not going straight. That means you are not the truth God created you to be. So the grass does not allow the toxicity, the hostility, the death in the soil to stop it from growing. It still grows there. So our environment is not a problem. Our environment, we are supposed to overpower it. Because if a grass does not allow the soil to stop it from growing, then why will we allow the world to stop us from growing? Why will we allow the world to profess the truth, to tell the world who we are, to tell the world we came from God, to tell the world we are children of God, to tell the world we are the truth, to tell the world that we move in a straight line like light? So it is important we understand our blueprint. That our blueprint, nothing can stop us. There is no amount of killing that will stop us, that will separate us from the love of God. Paul said there is nothing that can separate us from the love of God. I have seen it. There is no amount of death that stops the grass from growing. So there is no amount of, frustration, hostile environment, hostility, or toxic environment that will stop us from being who we are. So every effort anybody is doing to prevent people from being there is a wasted effort. You can't achieve it. If you like kill the whole human being, you cannot stop people from worshiping God. You can't stop people from being who they are, because that is who we are. We came from God. We have to manifest God all the time. In time of trouble, we have to manifest God. In time of joy, we have to manifest God. In the night, we manifest God. In the day, we manifest God. So whatever we are looking at doesn't count. It is not what you are looking at. It is what you are saying. You might see darkness, you might see night, but beyond that, there is glory, there is light, there is beauty. Nothing can overpower us. And that is the message I have for you today. Blueprint, everything that God created has a blueprint, and they follow blueprint. We have to be committed to what we're doing. We have to be dedicated, and we have to show that consistency. Thank you.